gets grated is late. All right? So keep that in mind. All right, first thing we got to do is we're going to get some bagels made. You guys have had bagels before, correct? Yes? Okay, bagels are a super easy bread to make. These won't have, you know, bagels have a very interesting texture, kind of spongy, and they have a very interesting skin on the outside. These won't really have that because we don't have the right ingredients. There's something you put in it called malt powder or malt syrup, and that's what gives pretzels and bagels their specific texture, okay? So these will be similar but not quite accurate, but we can't get the right ingredients, so what are you gonna do? So what we're gonna make today actually is we're gonna make a shallot bagel, okay? So we've got here these crispy shallots, okay? So in this bowl here I've got just some regular bread flour, and to this I'm gonna add some yeast, instant yeast, sugar, salt, some neutral oil, okay, like grapeseed oil, okay? You would not want to really use something like olive oil or sesame oil or peanut. You could use those if you were making a specific flavor, okay, but this is like a base recipe, okay? So I'm going to add a little bit of neutral oil. I've got some water here. And these shallots, but I'm going to get this mixing first and then I'll put the shallots in. The shallots I just soaked in a little bit of water, okay? You don't want to put them, if you're going to add something to this mixture, especially something that's dried like these, right? You want to make sure that they're not too dry before you put them in, because what will happen is that they'll start to absorb water from your recipe, right? So if your recipe is based on, all bread recipes are percentages, right? That's how professional bakers, when you see it, if you work in a professional bakery, you'll rarely see a recipe that is in grams, okay? It's all in percentages, right? And flour would be the 100%, right? So example, if I had 1 kilo of flour, right, that's my 100%, and I want to make 80% hydration. Hydration is the amount of water to flour. If my recipe is 80%, how much water would I use? A little louder? 800 grams, yes. That would give you 80% hydration. So what I've done with these, I've just soaked them in a little bit of water. I'm not making like an onion soup here, okay? I just want to soak them in a little bit of water so that when I touch them, they don't feel dry anymore. They've softened, okay? What I don't want is to have a lot of water in the bottom of the bowl. So this is just kind of softened up a little bit, and now I can add them to my my dough. So I'm going to take this into the kitchen. So why don't you guys all get up? We're going to go into there because I don't want to go back and forth. So I can talk to you guys a little bit about bagels and also about yeast and about making dough while we're in there. And you can carry that for me, please, Sabrina. So carry that, bring that in, please. And we'll just go right into the lab here. Hi, Jay. Start now. I like to keep this a little bit usable. All right, so I'm going to take my dough out now. You can see it's fairly dry, right? So I'm just going to give it a bit of a table knead. It's fairly tough to work with at this point. And I'm basically just tearing the dough apart and then bringing it back together. And this is going to help develop gluten. You guys know what gluten is?
Yeah.
Who can tell me what is gluten? No. Anyone else? Yeah, it's what gives the dough structure, but how do we get it? Where does it come from? Gluten isn't in flour. In flour, there's two proteins, one called gliadin, the other one called glutenin, and by combining them with water, they produce gluten. So if someone, gluten isn't present in flour, okay? It's created by two proteins that are mixed with a liquid, usually water. And by mixing them, it creates a bond, okay? They become pungyos. Then they go to the gym together, and they get all buff, and they become gluten, okay? So there's a term, maybe you've heard before, called shortening. Has anyone heard that term before? Yeah. Shortening? What is shortening? Fat, yeah. Most people, when they hear the term shortening, they just think of, most people, when they hear shortening, they just think of like vegetable fat or animal fat, okay? But actually, shortening in baking is any fat that's added to the baking, okay? Whether it's egg yolks, because remember egg yolks are about 98% fat, right? So any fat that's added to a dough is considered a shortening. And so what happens is, let me just keep eating this for another minute here. Holy mother of God, this is a tough dough. Okay. So now what we're going to do is let this table ferment, okay, or proof the first time. So this is what we call bulk fermentation. Bulk meaning the full mass of the dough. Fermentation being the yeast is eating protein and carbohydrates, the sugar, and it's creating gas, and to a lesser extent, ethanol, alcohol. So I'm just going to cover this up just lightly with a little bit of plastic to keep it from drying out. Down here. Okay. Who has their knives today? All right, Sabrina, come on up. Anyone else? Nobody else? Nobody else brought their knives? That's great. You guys have to remember to bring your knives to every class, yeah? You can set up a cutting board here. I'll just move these. Ah, perfect. 2 volunteers, even better. Do you guys see these pots all right? Of course not. What's this for? What's this for? Yeah. You guys need to get the plastic things I told you guys about. Yeah? In Western culinary, you will not be able to use that. In Western cooking, you are not allowed to use towels under your cutting boards, yeah? So you better get it. And the same goes in baking and pastry. The towels are not designed to go under cutting boards. All right, the first thing we need to do is open this up and make sure, go through it and pick out all the good stuff, okay? And all the good stuff you can put into there, okay? Then after that, we got a few other things we can work on. But first, start with that. Just take half on your cutting board, half on your cutting board, and just start going through it, please. When you order cucumbers, can you get the small, skinny ones? Yeah, thanks. I normally don't say that, but I don't really like these giant. They're not really that nice. All right. So you guys remember our pancetta from the very, very beginning, way, way back? I'm surprised you guys remember that. Sometimes I ask you questions about 2 minutes ago, and there's no memory. It's a good thing this honey is wrapped up so well. So this week I took our pancetta and I cut it up and I vacuum packed it. So this is the final product now. You guys can take a look at this if you want. You can feel it. You can feel how firm it's become. Okay, and we'll try this. We'll try this in a couple weeks. We'll cut some up and cook it in class. So that's the pancetta, okay? So you can feel it's become quite firm. So it lost about 30% of its weight in water from evaporation, okay? So I just cut it up, trimmed it, and I vacuum packed it very, very tightly so that it stays safe for the next few months. That can stay in the fridge for 6 months, easily 6 months. So what I'm doing now is setting up a couple pots here because we're going to need to cook our bagels, right? We need to blanch our bagels in boiling water. And so to do that, normally I would add this malt, this specific liquid or powder, malt powder, and that would give us that would help give us our texture. But what we can do instead, because we can't get it, or we couldn't get it this time, is we'll try using a little bit of honey and a little bit of baking soda, okay? And by using a combination of a little bit of baking soda and honey, we should be able to recreate the same effect. So you can see how firm that got, that pancetta, right? Yeah. It's quite stiff now, right? So this is perfectly safe to eat raw, right? This doesn't need to be cooked, right? You can just slice it and then eat it directly, yeah? Okay? Totally safe. Is there another piece? It's just like, what, I don't get to keep it? I don't get to take it home with me? So near the end of the course, I'll show you guys, we'll make some stuff. Near the last part of the last week or last 2 weeks of the course, we'll make some sandwiches. We'll fry up some pancetta. We'll make some sandwiches out of this, and then we'll also take our pork cheek, our guanciale, and we'll make pasta. I'll show you guys how to make a proper carbonara, because I often find people that put cream in it, though that's fine, like whatever, it's not a big deal. Italians get crazy about that, but I'm not too worried about it. And we'll also take, do you remember we made our ham, our Kasslerschinken, our pork loin, right? So that's also been smoked and vacuum packed. It's downstairs in the fridge. Again, you're more than welcome to go down and take a look. We'll also turn that nice ham into some wonderful French sandwiches called croque monsieurs. So the last couple weeks will just be a ton of good eating. So I've also got here some sesame seeds, black and yellow. And I'm going to put those just onto a little tray here, and I'm just going to mix them up. This is going to go on top of our bagels. Okay? So I got just a little bit of black sesame, maybe a little bit more. A little bit of yellow sesame. I'm going to also add in a bit more of the shallots that we had from before. So in this water, I'm going to add some honey. So I've got about 3 liters of water, 4 liters of water. So I want to put about 100 grams of honey, give or take. I'm just eyeballing it. And I'm also going to put in some baking soda, okay? That's going to change the pH of the water, okay? You guys know like ramen noodles? Ramen, right? So ramen noodles, they're made by adding an alkali solution to the water that changes the water when they make them. That's why you get a sort of spongy or springy texture to ramen noodles, as opposed to just regular egg noodles that are very soft, right? And actually in a global cooking class that I teach next semester, we make our own ramen from start to finish, everything. So if you guys want to learn how to do that, do you guys know how to make ramen? Have you guys made ramen noodles before? Nobody? So if you're interested to learn in the global cooking class that's offered to you guys in your 4th year, you can take that and we make from start to everything from scratch. So we make a bowl of ramen all from scratch. Okay. So I'm just going to put this onto a low heat and let that start to boil. The other thing I want to do, we have some cherry tomatoes here, somewhere. Here we go. And so what I want to do is just blanch these. Can I get some ice in here? You can just dump the ice right on the water. Don't worry about whatever. It's fine. So I'm going to bring some salted boiling water up to temperature, and then I'm going to drop the cherry tomatoes in. Give them a very, very quick blanch, and then shock them in ice water, okay? So this is a very common technique, okay, in cooking. It's done usually for vegetables. It's called blanch, okay? B-L-A-N-C-H-E, blanch. And it's done, so you use salted boiling water always, okay? Do not try to blanch something in warm water or just simmering water. It needs to be boiling water, okay? It's a very quick process as well. Generally speaking, you only blanch something for 10 to 20 seconds, 30 seconds, depending what it is, okay? The thicker it is, or the harder vegetable it is, the longer it'll take. Once you blanch something, you always want to shock it in ice water, okay? You want to stop the cooking process right away. So you can see already our dough, it's already expanded quite a bit, huh? I'm just going to release a bit of the slack here on this. That's for cheese. Okay. You really love ice, huh? All right, so I've got some cherry tomatoes here, some yellow and some orange. Sorry, some yellow and some red. The other thing we want to do, also, if you recall, so here's our smoked salmon. Okay, you guys can come up and take a look if you'd like. More of them up, you can come up and take a look. And there's our smoked fish. Okay, remember we had that smoked, those small pieces of smoked fish. Okay, so that's our smoked fish. Okay, the smoked fish I'm just going to put in the steamer for about maybe 30, 40 seconds just to warm it up and soften it up a bit. The smoked salmon I'm going to leave just as it is. Okay, so these have been smoked and then vacuum packed. Okay, guys, remember the camera, please. So this has been smoked and then vacuum packed, okay? And be careful because it's fairly soft now, because you don't push it too hard. So I got some water boiling there. I got some water boiling here. We have paper towel. So this is in bakery terms, this is called bulk fermentation or benching. Benching, okay? Workbench, so we just put it on our bench and leave it, okay? benching is a bit more of a slang term, right? This technically is called bulk fermentation, but in a lot of bakeries they say, okay, just bench this, right? And then you move on to the next project, right? But most bakery chefs and pastry chefs will know what you're talking about. If you said, I'm just going to bench this dough, they would be like, oh, you're gonna bench it. They would understand what you're saying, okay? Does anyone have pizza with them? Anybody? Chopsticks? I find when you're doing bagels, it's really easy. Just put it there. When you're doing bagels, it's really easy to use chopsticks. So you put we're going to drop the bagels into the water, right? And then to get them out, just using a chopstick through the middle, the hole, right? It's just very easy to go around and collect them all and then drop them on your tray, right? Some people will take like a slotted spoon or something like that, but then you get a lot of extra water, right? Thank you. So my water here for blanching is just about coming up. How are we doing here, ladies? Almost done, huh? Perfect. And then after, you guys can start to slice these, okay? And this we're just going to chop coarse, okay? Rough chop, not too fine. Okay, just rough chop. This we can just take the seeds out and then slice. Okay? But if you have a question, let me know. So, okay, now my water's come up here. So I'm just going to drop in my tomatoes. And again, these cherry tomatoes, they're fairly small, right? So they take a very small amount of time, very, very short. All I want to do is basically soften the skin so I can peel the skin off, okay? This isn't necessary to do. If you're going to have a bagel with cream cheese and smoked salmon, you don't have to blanch and skin your tomatoes. It's just nice, okay? That's all. So that's why I've got the ice water ready, so that once my tomatoes are ready to come out, they go straight in the ice water, and that stops the cooking, okay? A really important part or aspect of cooking is understanding cooking times, right? And making sure that when you're done cooking something, you stop the cooking process. A lot of times people will blanch something, and then they'll just put it on the counter, and it turns color. This is really common with something like asparagus or green beans, okay? Any kind of green vegetable. If you take a green bean, for example, and you blanch it and then just put it on your counter, eventually it will turn black, okay? Or a very off gray color. That's why really often if you see frozen vegetables, okay, especially green vegetables, they have an off gray color, okay? They're not really green anymore because those companies that are preparing those vegetables, they don't really do so much of a blanch and shock. They just blanch them in batches and then cool them down in a fridge. So my tomato skins here, they're just starting to peel back a little bit. So we can take these out. And this water we don't need anymore, so I'll just get rid of it. So that, our bagel dough now, it's about a third bigger, maybe a bit more than that, so we're going to let that come up in size a bit more. I've also got here some cream cheese, okay? So this we're going to soften this cream cheese in our mixing machine, and then we're going to use that to spread on our bagels, okay? Also another big aspect of cooking is thinking ahead, right? If you're going to use cream cheese for bagels, don't pull it out of the fridge when you need it, right? Because then as you try to spread it, you're just going to tear your bread, right? So always plan ahead a little bit, think about what you're doing, right? Make the necessary plans and the necessary arrangements to make sure that your products are as good as they should be. So I'm just going to take this smoked fish, I'm just going to pop this in the steamer just for 30, 40 seconds, maybe a minute. That's going to help just kind of soften it up a little bit. Watch your back. That's going to help just kind of soften the fish up in the fridge, okay? And make it a little more nice to eat. So our cream cheese, I'll take about 3/4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I'm going to take my cream cheese here. Just put that into the bowl. And then to that, I want to add some stuff to make it taste a bit better. So we have some lemon, some fresh lemon over there. Yes. Yes, you can. Just rough chop, okay? So I'm going to take a couple lemons. I'm going to take a zester, okay? Very, very handy tool. If you don't have one, you should get one. And I'm just going to take the lemon peel off. Basically about 80%, 75% of the flavor of a lemon is in its skin, okay? And specifically in the oil in its skin, okay? The pith, the white underneath, right? So you know there's the lemon skin, the yellow. Then there's the inside, the meat. Then there's that layer of white. We call that the pith. That's just really bitter. It doesn't really have a lot of flavor. It's just extremely bitter, okay? So you want to try to avoid that when you're working with lemon products or citrus products. You want to try to avoid using any of that pith, okay? I'm just going to cut this up. I might actually use one more lemon, we'll see. You guys didn't grab capers this morning, did you? Capers? I don't see them. It's on your. Really? You sure where it says capers, right under lemon? Uh-huh. Capers will be in one of my bins up top, okay? Yeah, thanks. So I'm going to add a little bit more lemon, just to make sure I got enough in there. Yep. First, why don't you clean up? Hold on a second. You don't need this anymore, right? Or at least just move it. Try to keep your workstation a little bit cleaner. Yeah, you can cut the ends off, and then cut it in half, and then you can take the seeds out. I'm going to take a little bit of this. So I got some fresh dill here. So I'm going to add in some fresh chopped dill. Then I'm just going to beat this also with a bit of white pepper and a little pinch of salt. You don't really need too much salt because you've got all that lemon peel in there, and that lemon will act in a similar fashion to salt. Yeah, that's great. And you probably can leave this for now. Maybe do a bit more. So this I'm just going to put into my KitchenAid here, and then on a low speed, just beat this together. And we'll just let that go. So now we need to start getting our bagels rounded off. So very similar to how we did for the milk buns. I'm going to take my dough here and we're going to portion it up. So that's, after you've let it bulk ferment, you want to degas it a bit, okay? Because it's built up with gas already. And you'll see there's bubbles starting to come through now. So that's the buildup of air that's in there. And so what I'm going to do is just roll these up, portion these up to about 70 grams each. Not too big. Maybe we'll do 100. Thank you. It's okay. Anybody want to give me a hand with this? Just like last week. So you can just take your ball, fold it over on itself. Okay? And then we're just going to bool it up into a small ball like that. Wash your hands, please. Watch the camera, please, guys and girls. There's space here as well. Huh? So remember to fold it under itself, yeah? Fold it under. You're basically making like a little dome, right? Fold it under, fold it under, fold it under. Okay? And then you're just gonna round it off at the bottom. Okay? Other thing, that's great, thank you ladies. Yeah, that's great. You can go a little bit thicker if you want, whatever, I'll leave it up to you. Don't take too much time doing it. The other thing we need to do is, these need to be drained, and then the skins need to be peeled off, okay? So I'll keep getting this going here. Just don't go right in front of here, okay? There's space all around here. You can put them closer together. You can put all the balls closer together. We're gonna break them apart anyways when we form them into bagels. Also, reminder, next week, class is on Wednesday, yeah? You remember that, yeah? Okay, thanks. Sorry, I don't want to infringe on your bagel rolling space. All right, great. We've got our bagels going, we've got our cream cheese going, we've got our tomatoes skinning. So once the cucumber's done, then we can start to also slice our radish and get that ready as well. And then we're pretty close to being ready. We just have to bake our bagels. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to get our bagels ready for flattening, okay, or making the holes. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so you can actually put them quite close together. Huh? That's not so great. Yes.
You said that adding malt syrup will give the texture. From whatever texture is actually from the point, and the malt is for color.
There's two kinds of malt. There's one that's called non-diastic and one is called diastic. You're supposed to use the two. Non-diastic goes in the dough itself. That gives the texture. And diastic goes in the water, and that gives the color. I think you need to do better research. Isn't what? You mean the research? You mean the research you just did now? Okay.
But you said that it's from boiling, so when the
You're talking about two different things, yeah?
when the outer skin is set, it doesn't really have to be rise.
It's not supposed to rise like a no. It's not. This isn't a normal bread. There's two kinds of malt powder that's supposed to go in here. One is for texture, one is for color. One gives us the skin, and one is for the dough texture. Sorry? Yeah, but I just told you, one goes in the water, one goes in the dough. There's two kinds of malt powder. One is called diastic, one is called non-diastic. So what you should do is go to Google and type in bagels, diastic and non-diastic, and they will show you that one malt powder goes in the dough. One of them has an enzyme that breaks down the gluten, okay? And that's what gives it that sort of spongy, you know, bagels have like a sort of springy, spongy kind of texture, the dough itself, right? So that's why we put the malt powder inside, because there's an enzyme in there. The other malt powder goes in the water. The boiling has nothing to do with it, other than the boiling is the vessel for getting the malt powder to stick to the outside of the dough. You know what I mean? You could, I guess, put it in water and spray it on, but it's not really the most effective way to do it. So one malt powder, the diastic, I can't remember if it's diastic or not diastic, goes into the dough. That is an enzyme that breaks down the gluten. The non-diastic goes into water, so that when you boil it, it creates that pH around the outside of the skin. That creates the texture and color. But that's why we put honey in. So honey will give us the same color effect, but we're not going to get really the same, entirely the same end product because we just don't have the right product, the malt powder. But normally recipes, yeah. On me? No. I have it. But I can give you guys the recipe. You're not done yet. You're not done yet. You're not done yet. It might be advantageous to ask if you're finished first, right? Put your cutting board back. All right. So I'm just going to let these rest for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then we're going to shape them, let them rest again. And then we're going to boil them and bake them. In the meantime, we're going to get some fish out of the steamer. So we just want to let the dough relax a bit. We just want to let the dough relax, kind of rest a bit because it's been worked quite a bit from the cutting and the rolling. So we want the gluten or the dough to sort of rest and relax a little bit. And then we can go from there, okay? In the meantime, I'm going to grab one of the gravlax from the freezer, and we can slice that up and we can try it. Well, I want it to get a little more firm. I find it Gravlax I find to be a little bit easier to cut when it's slightly frozen on the outside. Not frozen all the way through, but just a light freeze. Okay, so we also need these red radishes. You want to take the ends off and then slice very, very thin. Like, very thin. And these can also just go into a bowl. Okay, I'm just going to sneak behind you here. All right, so this was the smoked fish, right, that we did last week. I don't know how this is going to turn out because I've never smoked this kind of fish before, and I don't generally smoke frozen fish because it's just not, I don't really understand the purpose of doing that, but we'll see what happens here. So I'm just going to cut this open, and then you guys can come up and have a taste. That smells really good. You guys can come up. Just be careful of the camera a little bit, okay? I could try first. Yeah, actually it's pretty good. So I'm just going to cut it into, it's a little bit salty, but. And you guys can just use your fingers or whatever. Or if you have chopsticks, just get in there. Okay, so you guys can put some over here. You guys can try that. Just break off a piece. Take. Break off a piece and take a taste. Watch the camera, please. So there's that, okay? You guys can use your fingers. I'm not worried about it. It's just smoked fish. It'll be fine. Just break off a piece. So it'll have like a light, salty taste, kind of peppery, fairly smoky. Now, our smoked salmon. You girls, take a break for a minute. Try a piece. I don't want you guys to just work. There's some smoked fish there. You can just take a break for a second and go and grab a piece and try it out if you want. And then our smoked salmon here as well. You guys can try this. There's some more right here. So either of these products will last for about 2 months under refrigeration. 2 or 3 months under refrigeration. Okay? Now keep in mind that North America is much colder, obviously, than Southeast Asia. So actually, Normally when this is made, it's not even put in the refrigerator, okay? Once it's vacuum packed, it can stay out of the refrigerator for quite some time. So I'm going to take this, I got this small ball here, so kind of a little bit smaller than it should be. So I'm just going to show you two ways to do a bagel, okay? One is you can just poke, the easiest way that I find is just to poke your hole through the middle, okay, until you go all the way down. All right, so now you've got a hole in the middle, and then you just use your fingers, and you just stretch it a little bit out, okay? Something like that, okay? Eventually it's going to grow back in, okay? The other way to do it, I'm not going to keep this piece anyway, so it doesn't matter. The other way to do it is take it from your ball here, and then just to roll it out into a sort of tapered thing like this, okay? So it's slightly skinnier on two ends, and then just roll it around like this, and then just roll it back and forth on your table until you get a bagel, okay? There's two ways. I find the easiest way just to punch a hole and go, instead of rolling it out, tying it, doing that. I don't really understand the point of that. A lot of bagel shops or a lot of large bakeries just have a machine that they put the dough into, and it just spits out bagels, right, down a tube, okay? But if you're not making 10,000 bagels a day, you probably don't need to spend money on a machine that makes perfect bagels every time, right? Unnecessary. All right, so maybe you guys want to give me a hand. So you can just grab a bagel, punch your thumb through the middle, and then just gently roll it out until you've got a hole about 3 centimeters or so wide, okay? Something like that, okay? Don't go too big on the holes. Yeah, that's fine. That's good, good, yeah, good. Try to keep it even all the way around. Okay, so there we go. Try to keep it even all the way around, okay? And we've also got our gravlax, cured salmon gravlax. Hey, buddy. Oh, say what? I came in here before, you weren't here. Hey, Vincent.
Four, 5, 6 stations to make our meat class.
Where? Here?
Yeah, here.
Here, yeah.
And this is for meant for you.
Oh.
And this is simple thing your tipping.
Thank you.
And next week we will running my.
Oh, it's your restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And
Okay.
my food truck. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Hey, do you remember we took the graduation photos outside?
Yeah.
Can you send me a copy of those? Can you send me the photo?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you remember? Yeah, you remember we sat down outside and you all had your cap and gown for your graduation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just send you to your email account.
Email or line? Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay, also remember that we had, yeah, great. Try to make the holes a little bit bigger, because remember they're gonna shrink as they cook, right? Once we start to boil them a little bit. All right, also remember we had our salmon gravlax, right? Excuse me. Excuse me. So I'm just going to take this and split it in half for now. And then just using a nice sharp knife, you just cut off slices of gravlax. You can try if you want. So I'll just put slices there and you guys can help yourself. You can just take the whole slice, don't worry, we got lots. So it should have a nice, lightly salty flavor. Should get a nice little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, and then a nice finish of dill. Okay, you guys can help yourselves. Notice when I'm cutting it, see how I'm keeping the skin? I don't need the skin, right? We don't use that. So I just cut down, and then using the base of my knife, just kick it out. And that gives me just a really nice, even slice of gravlax. I can see you're vulturing around like a seagull waiting for, you want that? Yeah. Help yourselves, please. Just wait, Pearl, you can just wait. We're gonna boil them first, then put on paper towel. We're gonna boil them first, then paper towel, then on there. Jay. Jay, you want to try this? Really? It's not raw. Okay. Everyone get a piece? All right. So this would last under refrigeration for about 3 or 4 months. Okay? So again, this is a way of preserving fish, right? For use later in the year. Keeping in mind that people that live in these conditions like Norway or Sweden or Denmark in the wintertime, it's extremely cold, right? So cold that you really can't go out fishing, okay? Oh, poor Jay, he doesn't get to eat today. Oh. All right, so the bagels, I'm just going to put into my water and cook for about 60 seconds per side, okay? So maybe somebody can grab another bunch of bagels and put them into this water here, please. And then we need the baking sheets and baking paper, please. Yep. Right. There's no space for it, so put them back on the tray. Okay, that's good. That's good. So we need baking sheets and baking paper, please. So after about a minute of cooking, and I've just rolled them over, so we do both sides. What? So that we can get that outside crust, the texture of the skin and the color. Okay, we need 5 more in here, please. Yep. Great. So then you can just, once they've dried for about a minute, you can just transfer them, maybe 3 per, that's good, 3 per, 3 per tray. You understand what I'm saying? I just keep saying 3 per, 3, hey, slow down. 5 and 5, okay? If there's bagels in here, don't come. Do we need more baking? Just wait, we need more of these. More baking trays, please. Great, yeah. So you can put 3, maybe 3 per tray there, and then you can just also give them a little sprinkle of this too. Huh? But you can probably give them a sprinkle before you put them on, actually. Before you put them on the baking tray. But those ones are fine. In most big bagel bakeries, a lot of bagel bakeries are also delis. Okay, and they make smoked salmon and cured fish, and they serve it all together, right? So normally, what they would have is a machine that spits out bagels, and then they go into a big bathtub. And there's a machine that just turns like this, and it kind of makes the water flow one way. So the bagels get into the machine, they come out of the machine, the dough machine, in a perfect bagel shape. They drop into the water, and you can start naming them. They drop into the water, and they just start floating down this little bathtub, right? And there's a conveyor belt, and it's just turning like this, right? And the bagels go doo 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 doo, and then boop, and they get picked up, and they go onto a tray. Okay? So it's like a big production line. Just wait for this water to boil again. It's not really hot enough yet. Okay? Great, that looks lovely, ladies. Now, do you still have the bag for this? Or is this the bag for this? Okay, I think I have some more bags somewhere. Or you can just dump the garbage out and put this back in there. This, find the capers. There should be a jar of capers over there. Yeah, so just drain a little bit of the water into there. Don't eat, chat. Once the tray is full, we can just get it straight into the oven, okay? Okay, these can come out. We can put more in here. Okay, so a couple quick things. First, just a reminder, right, next Wednesday is the class, right? We're going to be eating oysters, but it won't be this classroom, right? It'll be next, like last week? I'm on video. Delete that. So next Wednesday, we have 48 oysters that I got for free.
Yes.
What's up? I guess she looked at me very unimpressed, like,
Only 48?
total Karen here, huh?
I want to speak to the manager. Where's the manager?
All right, these can come out. And don't forget to turn them. No, use a spoon. Yep, right in. You can get a little bit more of the toppings on there. I don't think so cheap. Jesus. No, I'm just joking. It's fine. Lovely. Okay, and then get a few ice cubes from in the kitchen. Put some ice in there, and then that's it. We're ready. Okay. You have a tray there I can use? Just give me this one. Okay, get the topping on here. Got it? Yeah. Good. All right, so next Wednesday, right, we're also going to be doing what's called gooey duck. Did you guys look up gooey duck before? Last week, right? You guys looked it up? So I'm going to show you guys how to prepare a gooey duck, and we're going to make it in two ways. One is we're going to make a crudo or raw, like not raw, but fairly raw. And the other way is we're going to make a classic Italian pasta called vongole. Vongole is a really classic Italian dish. Basically, it's spaghetti with clams. Okay. Now, normally when they make vongole, they just throw in small clams. But instead, we're going to use the siphon of the gooey duck, okay, to make a really nice vongole, okay? We're also going to make, like I said, we've got a bunch of oysters coming. So we're gonna have some oysters raw with a mignonette sauce, which is a French sauce of vinegar and shallots. And we'll have just some fresh lemon. I'm also going to make some tempura batter, and we'll make some fresh oysters tempura. Okay, so and I think we're going to make a little sea urchin cream. You know, uni, sea urchin, uni. We'll make a little mayonnaise, sea urchin mayonnaise, to dip the tempura oyster in. Okay, so if you don't want to eat a raw oyster, you don't have to. So I will, does anyone, just out of curiosity, does anyone here have an oyster shucker? Okay, not a problem. I have one, okay? So I will bring, I always bring my tools, but I'll have an oyster shucker here, and I'll show you guys how to do one or two, and then you guys can practice opening an oyster. It's fairly easy, it just takes a little bit of practice, okay? Okay, that's great, thank you. All right. Where's our, oh. One. It's okay, we throw it out, I don't care. Okay, so let's get those on the tray. Come out. I should have about 3 or 4 trays. I said just the one? Okay. Well, that's great. Okay, so start putting these on there. some more there, please. That's finished. Can I use that towel? There you go. Thanks. Okay, great. Right behind you. So for our bagels, we got some bagels in the oven now. For our bagels, we just got also some nice little cherry tomatoes here, which I'll just slice a little bit. Yeah. All the bagels are in the oven? Just missing one tray now? Yeah. Is there a jar of capers somewhere? Can you grab those for me? You can just put them into a bowl for me, actually, that'd be great. Thank you. That's great. And I'll keep the jar, we won't need all these. You can just leave those right there for now. I might need again some. Actually, I definitely. You can take this to the freezer that has the rest of the Gravlax in it. Just plop that back in the freezer. It's in the main kitchen. You can ask Dharma. He knows where it is. He'll show you. Okay, so we've got our bagels in the oven. We've got some fresh dill here, okay? We've got some arugula. You guys know arugula? Yeah, also called roquette. Okay? You guys have tried this before? You guys have tried this, everybody? Everybody's tried this? If you have not tried it, you can come up and take a piece and try it. If you haven't tried it, you can come up and take a piece. It's a lettuce. And it's got a peppery taste to it, okay? Almost kind of spicy. So this is called arugula or roquette, okay? In France and Europe, a lot of places they call it roquette. Thank you. So it's got sort of a light peppery taste, yeah, the arugula. Kind of sharp or spicy in a way. Yep. Yep. So we've got our cream cheese here that's got our lemon peel and some dill. Just leave that with hot, that's full of hot water, right? Yeah, just leave it for now. Fine. Don't worry about it. So we've got our lemon and dill cream cheese, okay? We got some capers. You guys know what capers are, right? Very salty, right? This is the bud from a bush, okay? We got arugula here, which is kind of peppery, okay, sharp. We got some tomatoes, cucumber, a little bit more fresh dill, and then we just got some radish here, some ruby radish or cherry radish. The cherry radish, I use some of the pickling liquid from the capers and a little bit of ice, okay, so it's just softened a little bit so it's not so crunchy, and it's got a little bit of a sour pickled taste to it, okay? Now, we're gonna take more of our smoked salmon, and you guys can kind of build your own little bagel sandwich. But it's good to take a small piece and then try with different fish, right? Don't just take a whole piece of smoked salmon, put it on top of your bagel and be like, hey, good, thanks. Okay? Or put a piece of bagel on top of the tray and walk away. Also, next week, if you guys, well, if you want, I can also tell you, so next semester, right, we have baking and pastry introduction, right, and also basic Western, right? So I can tell you guys the syllabus for that week by week if you want, every week what we're gonna make, okay? And then you guys can sort of plan for that as well, all right? So you guys take a little break, stretch out. You guys look like you're already taking a break. Never mind, keep doing what you're doing. We just gotta wait for our bagels to cook. What else? What else? So yeah, next week we're going to do oysters and gooey ducks. Then don't forget May 22nd, there's no class, right? Then week 15, we're going to start working with foie gras, and we're going to make some pâté. Then week 16 is your final exam. Okay? So we'll start reviewing next week. Okay? I'm not sure, well, has the Western Department talked to you about the kitchen cleanup here? Because they told Daniel that it's on June 19th. Okay, so you need to check with them, okay? So you should prepare that your final exam will be week 16, okay? And then week 18, we don't have a class, right? June 20th, Saturday, there's no class because we already did it another time, some other time ago. So really, we only have 1, 2, 3 more classes, okay? And then you're free for the summer to go nowhere because you're all stuck here, like me. Maybe, can you grab me one of those, another bag of, never mind. You guys, take a rest. I don't want you guys working too much. I'll go do it. Yo! Did you shit yourself? Too bad.
I'm so scared.
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes, thank you. Also, every photo you have taken in this classroom, you need to give to Sarah, okay? Now, like today, okay? Because I've asked her about 3 or 4 times, and I believe she's asked you, right, for photos, yeah? So today, you need to send those photos to her, understand? Every photo from this classroom. Everything, okay? I'll be the judge if I want to use it or not, okay? You don't judge for me what photos I use from this class, yeah? So you go through your camera, and you can do that right now because you're not doing anything else. You can go through your cameras right now and start sending photos. And in the future, if you get a request from her, it's not that she wants it, right? It's that I'm asking her for it, okay? So please don't waste her time, because if you waste her time, you waste my time, okay? So when she asks you for something, just do it, okay? Just do it right away so it's done, okay? Because if I have to keep asking you for it, I'm going to get really annoyed, okay? I'm not asking you for your left arm or your kidney. I'm just asking for the photos from this classroom, okay? So please, do it in a timely fashion. So our first tray of bagels is almost done. It needs about, what time is it, 10 o'clock? Good. Yeah, perfect. Almost done, that bagel. First tray of bagels there probably needs about another 10 minutes or so. So this gravlax, right? This recipe is just a base recipe, okay? Similar to the bagels, right? You can really change a lot the flavor of the gravlax, okay? You can change the color of it by adding beet juice or red cabbage juice. So you can make it red from beets. You can make it purple, totally purple. You can also change the flavor of it quite a bit. I've done, like I said before, I did one with mint, which was really nice. It had just like this nice sweet minty taste. I've done it also before using lemongrass, kaffir lime, and ginger. I've done it before using white truffle oil. So no dill, just salt, sugar, and white truffle oil, and made a truffle cured salmon, which was also really nice. So really it's just, this is just a starting point recipe, right? It's a very, very basic recipe. But then you can sort of adjust it and change it to however you want, right? Whatever you feel like making. And you can also experiment, okay? I've made some before. I've done some experiments with it that were not such a great idea, you know? I don't remember any offhand, but I'm sure I've done it where I was not happy with the final result. But it's always nice to try, right? All these types of fish, once they're vacuum packed, are also permissible to travel with. So you can carry this in your suitcase to another country because it's cured, right? You can't just rock up to the airport with a fish, right? You can't just like go up like, what's up? Any check-in luggage? Just my fish. Not gonna happen, right? But you can take any of these vacuum packed, put them in your suitcase, and travel to any country. They won't stop you. It's cured, okay? You would not want to try and travel with this in your carry-on though, because they will confiscate it for some reason. I really don't foresee someone trying to hijack a plane with cured fish. All right, everybody, stay quiet, stay in your seats, and you'll all be safe. But yeah, you won't be allowed on a plane carrying this, but you can easily carry it with you to another country in your checked-in luggage. In Vancouver, there's near the airport, there's a bunch of shops that cater to high-end Japanese and Chinese tourists, and they sell really, really expensive, really overpriced smoked salmon. I mean, like one pack like this, maybe $30, $40 Canadian, so 1,000 NT, 1,500 NT. Really, really expensive, but they buy it all. It's in a nice little package. They come home to China or Japan, and they're like, look what I got you. And they're like, oh, thank you. And you know, the people in Vancouver are like, I can't believe they paid 40 bucks for that. So it's pretty funny. But whatever. So also in Canada, where I'm from, in Vancouver, we have a lot of Native Americans, right? Native Indians. So they're granted now. Salmon has a very close monitoring system about the fishing levels, right? Commercial fishermen only are allowed to take so much a month, right? Because they need to replenish the stocks, right? But Native Americans basically have an open fishing permit. They basically fish as much as they want. They can't do it for commercial purposes though, so they couldn't. What I mean is they can't just make a business out of it, right? They can take their small boats, personal boats, and catch 5, 6 fish every day if they want to, but they can't sell that fish, okay? But when I was a kid, my dad was a really weird guy. I'm not going to get into too much detail about him. He was a very strange guy. Nice guy, not the greatest father in the world, but a nice guy. Anyways, he was fairly smart, and so what he used to do, because he knows, a lot of Native Americans, they really enjoy drinking beer. So what my dad would do is drive down to the reserve where all the natives live, and he first would go to the liquor store and buy a bunch of beer. Then we'd go to the native reserve and say, hey, you guys want to trade salmon for beer? And they're like, yeah, sure. And so my dad would give them maybe 12 beers, right? Not very much, what's 12 beers per gallon? That's 500 NT, around, let's say, right? And you would get 2 whole salmon, fresh that day, right? 2 whole. And he thought, my dad thought, oh, this is really good. So then we would go with more beer. Big food, you know. So my dad started bringing home 4, 6, 8 salmon, and then he would sell them to the neighbor. So he would keep maybe 2 or 3. My dad loved to smoke meat and smoke fish, you know. So he would smoke 2 or 3 salmon every day, and then he would sell a few to the neighbor, or he would trade the neighbor for, you know, whiskey or something else, you know. Yeah, so he basically got free fish and occasionally free whiskey. So yeah, it's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good deal. But then the native guys, they started thinking, wait a minute.
When did you get all the fish?
This 6 beers for 1 fish is not a good deal. It's yeah, not a good deal at all. We want 10 beers. Yeah, 10. Yeah. And I was like, no problem. 10 beers, sure. Because that's still way cheaper than buying a whole fish, right? You guys know a town named San Francisco, right? So a long time ago, before Japanese cuisine, in particular before sushi was very, very famous around the world, right? I mean, sushi wasn't really famous until probably the early 80s. It started to become famous, right? And then it started in the 1990s, and now in 2000, it's become massive, right? You know, but I mean, after World War II, people didn't really like Japanese people, right? Because of Pearl Harbor, right? So people were sort of like, there's a lot of anti-Japanese mentality going on, similar now to how you have like anti-Chinese thoughts in a lot of countries now, right? Because of the coronavirus, which is stupid. But there was a lot of Japanese and Chinese immigrants that lived in San Francisco before and after World War II. And fishermen would often come back from fishing, obviously. And they would gut their fish on the wharf. Okay, so they would come back. To the marina, right, the wharf, fishing wharf, and they would. And this I'm talking a long time ago, 1970s, before, you know, well, bell bottoms disco was cool. So these fishermen would come back and they would gut their fish, and the salmon. They had all the salmon eggs, right? Salmon roe, salmon eggs, right? And they would just throw them away. And a lot of Chinese and Japanese immigrants were like, hey, can we have those? And they're like, yeah, I don't care, take them. And these guys started to turn them into the sushi, right? Salmon eggs. They'd sell them to other countries and something. Started making quite a business out of it. And these fishermen started thinking, like, hey, similar to my dad and the native guys. They would say, wait a minute, we're giving you all these fish eggs. And you know, I don't know if you know much about fish, salmon fish eggs are fairly expensive now, right? And so they made a huge business out of it. Off of something that other people were just like, didn't care about, right? It was smelling good. The onion and stuff started to come out, it's really nice. Yeah, so food is kind of a weird thing like that, you know? There's a lot of things. There's a really famous dish from Portugal called bacalhau. Have anyone ever heard of bacalhau before? So bacalhau, we can make it maybe next semester or something. I can show you how it's made. I don't know how much you guys like it. It's fairly salty. But basically, Portuguese, being a fisherman, right? It's not really, you know the term lucrative? Lucrative means you make a lot of money, right? Being a lawyer, being a doctor, or whatever, that's considered a lucrative profession, right? You make a lot of money, right? Nobody says like, I'm gonna be a fisherman. Yeah. You gotta make so much cash. Porsche, Lambo, right? Nobody says that, right? So I'm gonna be a fisherman, and I hope that I'll come home every day stinking like fish. That's my aspiration. That's my goal, right? So a lot of fishermen, they look for ways to maximize the money, right? So in Portugal, they would take codfish, very, very good codfish, wild Atlantic cod, and the fishermen that caught it would fillet it. Then they would take the bones and they would salt it. They would cover it in salt and hang it. They would let the salt dry, and they would sell that as a dish called bacalhau. And historically was fairly cheap, okay? But now, I can find out a current price from the importer. But if we wanted to import a piece of bacalao, maybe 1,400 NT, maybe 1,800 NT, for just the salted bones of a fish. So people are always looking for ways to sort of increase their revenue or maximize their profit, right? And doing things like that is one really good way to do it. These, do you guys know what these are for? I don't need to. That's like pulling and pushing. No, I'm just joking. I don't like. This is a steam valve. So in the back of this oven, sometimes they're on the side, but sometimes they're on the back. There's later you can look in and you actually can see it if you want. There's a little sort of hole, and it's got a little cover. Okay, so when I push this in, the cover covers the hole, so it doesn't let steam out of the oven. So depending on what you're baking, like for instance, you know a traditional French baguette, right? It has a very crusty exterior, right? But the interior is soft, right? So that's made by introducing steam in the beginning of baking. So when you put a baguette in the oven, we flash it with steam. I think these have a steam thing, but it's broken. I mean, probably. So I just usually throw it in some water and it goes to steam, right? And so what you do after, because you don't want the steam to stay in there or else the crust won't develop, right? It will stay soft, right? So what you want to do is open up this. It's called a damper. D-A-M-P-E-R, damper. And you just open up the damper and that starts to let the steam out, okay? Because remember that there's also a lot of water in your dough, right? Your dough is at least 50 to 60% water. So as it cooks, that's going to evaporate as well, right? So you need to open up this damper so that the outside of the bread can start to dry out and develop that nice crusty, crunchy exterior, right? If you want a softer bread, like remember we made those buns, those small buns, right? I kept the damper the whole time because I want to keep that bun as soft as possible, right? But with this type of baguette, or bagel, I want to open up the dampers a little bit because there's a lot of water going off there because we just boiled it, right? So I want to get some of that water out. I'm going to grab one bagel and see how it is. If it's cooked or not. It looked pretty well cooked, but it's always a good idea just to try one. So we got this nice cute little bagel here. Okay. So normally I would use a thermometer. I just stick a thermometer to make sure it's up to the right temperature, but I didn't bring that thermometer. That's pretty good there. Maybe that is 3 or 4 minutes. So yeah, basically once I pull the bagels out, we'll let them cool down for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, okay? So you don't want to rush this, but then you can just take a bagel and you can cut it. And I'll just take a small piece here like so. So you can take a small piece of bagel, you can take a little bit of cream cheese, and then you can decide which kind of thing you want. I'll put a little bit of arugula on this one. Take a small piece of salmon. Maybe a little cherry tomato. A little thin slice of cucumber in here as well. A little bit of fresh dill. And then a couple pieces of our ruby radish. And then you just got like a nice little fresh bagel sandwich. Lovely. Anyways, we gotta wait for that to cook still, so no hurry. I'll just tidy up a little bit. can go around too. Have you tried capers before? You can try one if you want. They're very salty. Try one. Don't be scared. You don't like it. How do you know? You never tried it. That's the silliest thing. I don't like it. Have you tried it? No. It's just salty. Oh, look at your face, is so sad. I love it. Get a photo of that. It's great. It's one of the best. I don't want to eat capers. Teacher made me eat capers. I like capers. The thing is, okay. Give me your finger. And so, yeah. Now try it. And make sure you mix it together, right? It's not so bad. Oh my God, doesn't like it. I never heard glasswort.
Like the only thing we
Photo,
have
photo.
for this is the article for sea asparagus.
Yeah, photo. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so if that says glasswort, then yeah. Is it on the system?
Yeah, the system said it's glasswort. That's why I was like, why is it?
You can come around and you're taking like the craziest angles. Like you don't work for National Geographic, you know that? Honestly, I thought that was a piece of celery. Yeah, I was like, wait, you got celery? You can bring your own celery to this class? Like, holy crap. You're not messing around. Sarah can tell you. She can tell you. Do you want one? I can get one from the supplier for you. You just pay them. Nah. Turn that goddamn camera off!